And Are You Okay is a not safe for work podcast, so any young listeners are discouraged from continuing. However, we literally have no way to track that, so do whatever the hell you want and enjoy the show.
All the problems.
Do you feel like a champion, Matt? I kind of feel like a champion.
Feel like a champion. I feel like a world champion. I feel like a galactic
world champion too. Galactic.
Oh,
I like that. I like that. A galactic champion. Do you feel like, dude, I don't know about you, but I kind of feel like I just won the Boonta Eve Classic.
Oh, that's very wizard. It's very wizard.
Oh,
you did that. You pulled that off.
The most wizard. You know, I'm just channeling those victory type vibes from our world championship, Philadelphia Eagles. That's right. You're listening to And Are You Okay? But we just gotta, you know, we flap our wings here. We bleed green here. We gotta talk about our guys.
Shout out to the Go Birds podcast.
Stormtrooper DeJean and the Qui-Gon Mitchell of the Star Wars podcasting scene.
You feel me? You feel me?
Man, the boys were eating.
You choose who too.
Don't make it weird.
Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. Yes, yes. My man's got a Stormtrooper DeJean got a pick 6 on his birthday.
It might have been the most loud I've ever yelled as an Eagles fan,
bro. Nuts. The ass whooping. You know what that was? That was like when Luke got Darth Vader down on the second Death Star,
and just kept
hacking away. That's what that mauling of the Kansas City Chiefs reminded me.
And you know what, man? It's like a green lightsaber coming down on a red lightsaber. I feel it. We took out the evil empire.
You see, and that's how democracy lives again, with thunderous applause.
That's right. So, for those of you who are worried about the state of the world right now, have no fear. The rebellion will rise up again. We are here to lead that charge. We're here to lead that charge.
Got you.
Well, Matt, we are back, to discuss my Skywalker Saga rankings. Yours was very well received from the masses. You know, one of our most listened to episodes in a while. So glad to see that people picked back up. They said, "Oh, he's ranking the movies. Let me get back in here. Let me see what's going on." Oh, and by the way, you know,
do you fuck with Star Wars?
Ranked his. I do fuck with Star Wars, even though I know you're making a pillow talking joke.
Feel like it's been a while.
I do fuck with the war when it's in stars. Like,
I do fuck with the wars.
I just don't know how to react to the Force.
I see what you did there. I should have see what you did there. You should have just tried, of course. You know.
Well, while we are coming off the coattails of your ranking, and we're about to do my ranking, there's a special hidden guest ranking that is going to be coming to us next week.
The people been clamoring.
Big time fans of the show from the get go are going to be pretty happy about that one, because I'm just going to leave it at that. If you know, you know.
I almost spoiled it.
Yeah. No, if you know, you know. Like, you may have already heard their voice on this episode. Maybe
it's possible. It's possible. You know,
but Matt, I guess we should just start at the bottom.
Hyper dive right in. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, we should also punch it.
Fresh off my 9 to 5, literally about to hit hyperdrive. Punch it, Mikey.
I will. I'm going to do that. There's the championship vibes have been so strong that I forgot to do all our nicknames and stuff. But we're too far in. We're too far gone now.
You did the important ones. Qui-Gon Mitchell and Stormtrooper DeJean of the Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true.
You did the important ones.
They're the only ones that matter this week.
Exactly.
So number 9, it's the first that I will say on the list. It also happens to be the first Star Wars movie to ever come out. And while some people
Okay.
Probably say that, hey, this is blasphemy. And before I will go into my reasons, but let me be very real. All 9 of these films are films that I enjoy thoroughly. It just happens to be how I subjectively rank them in terms of things. There are some movies that I will admit on this list are better than others, but that does not mean that I like them.
That's what they mean to you. That's what they mean to you.
That's what they mean to me.
Your list, and your choice, your list, your choice.
And to me, A New Hope, while it kicks off this great, beautiful galaxy far, far away, it is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what I love about Star Wars. It just gets the ball rolling. It doesn't have enough of the things that I really connect with. And what I connect with is the battle of good versus evil in the form of some Jedi battles. And while there have been so many things that supplement and make this movie greater with each new installment, and being just kind of like that pinpoint in the literal timeline of like ABY, BBY, it's just not my favorite. Like, for people who love the dogfighting aspect of it, for people who love Han Solo, I feel like this movie is like big for them. And it has an incredible score that obviously is referenced in every other movie from there. But, the incredible binary sunset scene. And there's a lot to love. Obviously, without people loving this movie, like, the rest of them wouldn't exist. But when I think about which movie do I want to put on the most, and that's really what a big factor of what a lot of these came into, is like, well, how many times have I put this on to watch again? A New Hope's at the bottom of my list, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is.
You know when you play New Hope, when you're introducing a loved one to Star Wars,
yeah, right,
and you force them to watch them all. That's when you play A New Hope.
Right. That's when I'm in there. I'm like, listen, you got to see where we started to see where we got to. It's a very special movie. It's weird. I think that, I'm probably not the only person that has this experience, but I can't remember the first time I watched A New Hope, because Star Wars has always been that big a part of my life. So I can't tell you the feeling I got when I watched it, but clearly something stuck, because at the time we can go right into Empire and Jedi, and those movies staying power just increasingly, grow still in my life today, I think, but we'll get to there when we get to there. But yeah, A New Hope is just kind of like, I'm happy for what it is, but it's never the thing that I'm like, that is the feeling I want to go back to. It's like, it's all the things that this movie spawned that really make me love this franchise. And so I think that's the reason why I go back to A New Hope last.
Gotcha. Are there parts and or iconic moments from New Hope that you hold in higher regards than iconic moments from other movies that are higher up on the list?
That's a good question.
I'm rolling.
I think there are certain moments that are, I'm going to pull a you, and I'm going to rephrase your question a little bit.
Please.
This movie is not memed enough. And I really wish people like prequel memes have taken on a life of their own, where it's like General Kenobi and all that stuff, right? But no one says, you switched off your targeting computer. What's wrong? Nothing. I'm all right. They don't say it enough. It's pure joke fuel, in my opinion. There's tons
that is a good meme.
Or where could he be? Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we doing that more? So there are lots of things I think that it's ingrained in my DNA, a lot of moments from this movie. But I do think it's some of the, things that have kind of I feel should be bigger in the zeitgeist of Star Wars memery, that those moments stand out to me, and I try to make them into jokes, probably with my brother and other several close friends. But yeah.
But I was going to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
Yeah. From a cinematic standpoint, though, I will say the binary sunset is just maybe one of the most beautifully shot scenes in the franchise. And so if we were ranking that, I'd probably put it at number 10, still at the bottom of my list, but it'd be in the top 10.
From a not it being an amazing shot cinematically, who the fuck was Luke posing for Like just propped up, just peacocking. Like only person that's there is Uncle Ben and Aunt Beru. Like try to have your chest out in the breeze with the two in the background.
There's so much moisture evaporating around me right now.
like that. That's always like I can't think of the shows, but I know like Family Guy and American Dad have done it. Like, you know, like where they're showing the character like getting prepped up for like their introduction scene, like the other side of introduction scene. It's just like, I wonder if Luke's just like standing there with his leg propped up on their boat and just waiting for Uncle Ben to come call him just to see how cool he looks. Like, just standing there for hours, like he ain't even in there. Yeah. But yeah, so not memed enough is a great assessment of that movie. Some great moments. Where are we moving to? Number 8 on the list.
We're moving to number 8 on the list, which is I rewatched this movie for this episode, actually, because I just wanted to make sure I was putting it in the right spot. And while there are a lot of things I do love about this movie, there are so many things that I think could have been done better. And it's not going to probably shock the audience, and it definitely is not going to shock you, Matt. But I put The Rise of Skywalker here. This movie is not nearly as bad as people make it out to be. I will say that for sure. There are a lot of really fun and cool moments, and moments that make me be like, this is Star Wars. It just didn't end the saga, I think, on the note that I wanted it to. And I think that baggage kind of lays it down there. But there's so many amazing set pieces in this film. You talked about it on your ranking. All the Ben Solo stuff really hit for me. But a battle that does not get talked about nearly enough is Rey and Kylo's two parts here. Rey and Kylo's fight on Kijimi / his Star Destroyer, where they kind of drop the hints that things are going back and forth between them through the Force and their dyad connection to eventually set up, obviously, the handoff of the Skywalker saber later in the film, but also their fight on the Death Star rubble being almost like this like counterpoint to the Mustafar duel, right?
Ooh.
Like those
like
to
water
me,
instead of lava and shit.
Yeah, feel like really powerful, and I really enjoy them. And I'll talk about the, some of the continuation of The Last Jedi stuff. I think people thought that The Rise of Skywalker really shit on The Last Jedi. And I could see how some themes feel like they got dropped off, especially like the anyone can be a hero type thing. But there are some aspects on rewatch of the trilogy as a whole that I'm like, this through line really works. And I almost feel like JJ did, like, even though he took the baton from Ryan back, essentially, like he had to be the first and third leg of the race. Right. Like they fumbled it in the handoff, but he did actually get the handoff, right? Like, and so there are aspects of that relationship, the feed in from some of the themes from The Last Jedi that really worked for me. Obviously, there's a few that I'm just like still scratching my head about. As much as I love the look of Kylo Ren's re-put together helmet, it almost felt like, why are we putting your helmet
Pottery
back
barn?
Yeah, well, it's like you made such a point to destroy it as if you were like shedding this shell, like breaking out of a cocoon. It, like, from an artistic standpoint, it shits on a bit of like what he was doing. From a story standpoint, it feels like Kylo's reverting back to his old ways.
Yeah, I mean, he threw a temper tantrum at the end of Last Jedi, so like,
yeah.
That could, I mean, hearing you say about it, I 1000% too agree that him putting the helmet back on doesn't really make a narrative sense. But if I'm going to shoot it some bail in the sense of like being so far removed from it, if somebody were to come out and be like, oh yeah, he was embarrassed by Luke with the mask back off, so we felt that he wasn't strong enough still without the mask, and put it back on, like, I'd be like, you're lying, but I'll allow it.
yeah. And there's, so this is also the first movie where we get like the big three of this trilogy actually going on an adventure together. Yeah. And
very much true.
I also just feel like for future Star Wars, if you're going to follow that formula, establish their connections in the first movie so that we have, I mean, like that's something that where it's like, why I just kept asking myself, like, why is this the first time I'm seeing them all together? Yeah. And they're fun parts of the movie. You know what I mean? Like, If anything, I will say this is the biggest takeaway from The Rise of Skywalker every time I watch it. And I'm always like, okay, that was great. What's next? What should never be my kind of like when you're ending an entire saga of films, like that shouldn't be.
Yeah, I must say, especially the
question.
Finale, that shouldn't be your thought.
Right. And it's like it maybe would have been different if the plan was to just continue with like Rey, Poe, and Finn, because I think as a cast they're excellent. Like absolutely crushed, like putting all those characters in that role. I love those characters. I love the actors and actresses, like everything. But I shouldn't be left wanting more of their adventure. I feel like I just wasn't satisfied with the ending. And that's something that, I'll have to live with, but we'll see what changes, maybe with the new Rey movie that will change my opinion of it.
That we may get, may not get. Who knows?
It's happening. It's happening.
All right.
Yeah. I'm not concerned in the slightest about that one coming out.
Lovely. Well, I guess you walked yourself into a follow-up question without taking too much time to think about it, because this could be a whole episode in itself. Off the top of your head, seeing as you weren't satisfied with the ending, do you have a quick thing that you would have rather seen and or done to help you enjoy the ending a bit more?
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, I gotcha. So you had mentioned that there was a lot you liked, but you didn't necessarily like how it wrapped up the story for those three characters. So I was saying, without overthinking it, because like that could be a whole episode, is there like a quick thing that like pops out into your head that you're like, I would have done this, or I would have rather this happen, as opposed to what we got?
It would completely change the narrative of the movie, but I think that there would have been something to say about leaning into Finn's connection to the Force. And there's a lot of like through lines in the comics as well about how like Poe Dameron essentially grew up around a Force tree from like the Jedi Temple. I think it would have been nice to, like, if the Force actually awakened, I would have liked to have seen it awaken in more people throughout the movie. And like Rey can be the person, and Ben can still have his redemption, but I think I would have liked to see more characters actually touch it and feel like that The Rise of Skywalker would have ended on a much more hopeful note, knowing that for sure the Jedi will be kind of like coming back to power and
rebuilding,
return to being return to being like the keepers of peace and justice throughout the galaxy. That would have been probably something that worked well for me.
I like it a lot. Let's mosey on down the road. Number 7.
Yeah, perfect segue, I guess, because The Force Awakens is my number 7. And that might seem like this is pretty far down on the list. And let me just tell you why. It's
your
a fine
list, your choice.
I know. It's a fine movie. And in fact, it's probably one of the movies that I would like throw on more often. But there's just something about it that I don't feel like I get the same excitement out of it as I do every other movie on this list. Like, this is where I think that like the list starts to get, it was really hard for me to start moving some stuff around, because I have ingested and watched all of these films so many times. But when I was like going back through and being like, man, like which one do I get like excited to put on, or like, why am I excited to put this on? And for The Force Awakens, it was like, every time I think back to it, I think the most hype I had for it was really just around the fact that Star Wars was back, right? But I didn't know where it was going, what it was leaning into. And I think that to me, the set piece that sticks out the most for sure is the Finn Kylo lightsaber fight into the Rey lightsaber fight, because it to me was the first time where I was like, wow, this is really emotionally charged, but they're able to like hack at each other in a way that they couldn't do in the original trilogy. It felt a little more real. It almost felt like the perfect blend to what we had been kind of like seeing in previous like iterations, where it's like, you could say the prequels felt a little too choreographed. I'm not going to argue with someone who says that. Like, as much as I love those duels, like I can see it, right? And for the original trilogy, you could be like, these fights
fighting.
As great as they are from like, a story standpoint and emotional standpoint, like they leave something to be desired. And The Force Awakens was the first movie that I really feel like did such a good job of blending those two things together. And that to me is what I take away from that movie as a whole. But like I said, if the Force is awakening, and I'm glad that like it's confirmed that Finn is Force sensitive. It just would have been nice to have Finn explore his beginnings of a Jedi in these 3 movies instead of having it be like a plot line to the Lego Star Wars like specials that came out after this trilogy finished.
Do you excuse me, did you the whole thing about like you don't receive that the same excitement as you do for other movies, did you have that before seeing it, like the fact with it just being like new Star Wars, or was like after that? Because what you're describing, I've never really been able to like put a sentence behind it, but I feel that way about some of the newer Marvel movies, like not like the bad ones, like the ones that are actually pretty good. Like, so like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I know a lot of people that like love that movie, but it's like for me, I couldn't really get into it, but I also hold Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is like in my top 5 of like best Marvel movies of all time. But like kind of what you're explaining, like I don't know, something about like.
Well, I think the problem with comparing it to Marvel is it's like Marvel hasn't left, right? It hasn't gone anywhere. That's a really good point. So I'm sure I could think of a better example, but like it was the first time that we were going back to Star Wars. I thought we weren't going to get more Star Wars, right? I thought Clone Wars was going to finish and that was going to be it. And Clone Wars had been canceled at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't really know like what was up in the air for the franchise. And so I think with The Force Awakens, it was just like I go back to thinking about like what I enjoyed so much about the movie. And when I realized that what I enjoyed so much about the movie was how much I was speculating prior to the movie coming out about what the story and adventure was going to be.
That was a great part of it. That's a good point.
That kind of tells me that The Force Awakens, while it was a fun ride and I'm happy it introduced me to so many great characters, it's not exactly what I would say like the peak of my interest when I'm like viewing Star Wars.
Gotcha. No, that answers my question. Yeah, and I guess a better example would be like the new Blade Runner or like the sequel to Beetlejuice is like it's a nostalgia pop, but like because it's like, I guess part of Star Wars, maybe what I'm trying to say is like part of like why we loved it so much was like it's a product of that time. So like and we've talked about this millions of times, the CGI heaviness of Hollywood is not something that I'm like the biggest fan of. So like a lot of these like sci-fi or fantasy films that like in the early 2000s would have like had a nice blend of practical effects and CGI, not just full CGI. It makes me not enjoy it as much because it's just like, you could have used a monster in a costume for this. It's like time. But yeah, like I said, I've had that feeling with movies that have like come back as for like, you know, double decade long sequels and be like, oh dang, like it looks the same, but it feels different.
Yeah. And I think that like, don't get me wrong, like I was still excited. I still enjoy the movie. Like I said, I enjoy all of these movies. Yeah. I just don't enjoy it as much as the rest of the movies on this list. Period.
You know, that's my 3 or 4 depending on the day. But I get what you're saying. I feel it.
Yeah. Like there don't get me wrong. I think when you hear me talk about some of the other movies, you'll be like, okay, I get it. I think I know why. Like the passion behind it. What I really like in Star Wars is not necessarily represented in The Force Awakens as much.
Beautiful thing about fandom, baby. Mm-hmm. Different shapes and sizes.
From fandom to a phantom.
What a transition.
Yeah. Number 6 on my list is The Phantom Menace. There are so many things I like about this movie, but there are a lot of things about the top 5 that are just that do it better, right? Phantom Menace, I love the Duel of Fates. You and I happen to agree. Battle of Heroes, I think, tops it. I know that it's great. It's fantastic score all around. That's the other thing. This is like the Phantom Menace was such a reset for John Williams in Star Wars in the best way. I don't think people realize how good the score of the prequel trilogy is, and it starts with the Phantom Menace. Not just the Duel of Fates.
So good.
It's not just the Duel of Fates either.
Naboo song.
All Naboo music is so good. The Trade Federation March is fantastic. And then the don't get me wrong, the Duel of Fates, obviously, it should be in everyone's probably top 3 Star Wars scores. But the musical genius behind the celebration at the end of Naboo, being the reverse of the Emperor's theme, is pure brilliance. Shout out to the first person I had ever heard break that down was New Rockstars. Why can't I think? I'm blanking on Eric Voss. EA Voss. It's in the name. It's in the name. But yeah, what a fan! Just incredible. So like the score for it is fantastic. George Lucas spearheading, putting like the things that he loves into this movie. Like he loves cars and like car chases and car scenes. The pod race, incredible,
classic.
Like such a fun thing. I'm still begging for like a pod racer, an updated pod racer like video game. Like, can we please
need it?
Can we please get working on this? Like I want Forza, but pod racing. Like seriously, I think we're at that point now.
Barcade need to throw that bitch in there or something. Like,
yeah. Matt needs the pod racer arcade game like in there.
I need it.
The introduction to a younger Obi-Wan who. It's just that's what was the hook that got me, because like much like you, like I didn't been through the original trilogy front and back, sideways, diagonally for years through my childhood. Mm-hmm. So like when that teaser trailer came up, and I vaguely remember they did like kind of like reverse collages, like just for the characters who you could do that for. Like no, right. Yeah, and I remember I was like, "Oh shit, Obi-Wan!" Like, young Obi-Wan. Yeah, and it was something. Go. It was like, dude, I don't know what it was. I do remember, like, because I think I was really forming memories around. I mean, well, at that point, I was 6 years old, right? So the Phantom Menace, I was definitely forming memories, and that ad campaign was something else. This is a weird one. Not to throw like shade at my parents or anything, but they didn't take me to the movies to see the Phantom Menace. I had to wait for it to come out on VHS,
Blasphemer.
which is crazy. But like as a 6-year-old, I can't do anything about that shit. This thing was on repeat, and I was like obsessed with Obi-Wan. That quickly shifted to Anakin. Even before Attack of the Clones had come out, I was like, there was something about it. Something I had like, I was so enthralled with the series and understanding like, Anakin's Luke's dad and like stuff like that. Having those realizations got me really excited for that story. But Obi-Wan was a new hero for me. If anything, he was one of the first heroes I like latched onto after like Luke Skywalker. So it like definitely set up kind of like a not weird, but like a trajectory for me to like really appreciate that character. And obviously I've grown to love him even more as time has gone on. In my opinion, he's the perfect Jedi.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure like it probably like alternates, but like Anakin and Obi-Wan are like my 1 and 1A. Like just depends on the day of the week. Who's like my guy, but Ben is my fucking dude. Like,
oh, fantastic. And like also like I don't know, it was a bold choice to I guess like maybe
unknown. He like was like an unknown actor.
Yeah. And like not that I knew that at the time, but it's just like, George had his method, his casting was strong, and I also think it was bold to have Qui-Gon be a present force in like that movie. And it's like obviously we have so much Qui-Gon content now, right? But to introduce to introduce such a central point to the story, knowing that you're gonna kill him, it's just like Obi-Wan in A New Hope doesn't have the level of screen time and importance that Qui-Gon does in The Phantom Menace. It was a risk.
He's still like one of the more memorable parts of that movie, which says a lot about his portrayal.
It's true,
and but it's around for the other movies. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but it is one of those things where it's like, man, like Qui-Gon has a lot of staying power. Something that like I reflect on, watching it, and I think that's one of those things where it's like, if Star Wars were to jump around the timeline, like, yeah, give me more of the like young Qui-Gon with younger Dooku, like that stuff like really resonates with me, and I think he's a great character. But yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons. I mean, I could talk about the Duel of Fates forever, but it's like I was speaking with Ray the Ruiner about this. Darth Maul is introduced and he has this great set piece, but it's like it's such a footnote compared to what has happened.
Else he does after that.
Yeah, and it is. I think it's one of those reasons why I love Star Wars animation so much. But yeah, to me, it's it's really just that kind of like being like the new era of Star Wars and that we were growing up in. For Phantom Menace, like, just held a higher bar. And I think maybe it's a nostalgia pop for me that puts it above a movie like The Force Awakens, because I could definitely argue that The Force Awakens is like objectively a better movie. The Phantom Menace tries to do so much in its third act. It's like, come on, man, calm down. Let's bring it back down to earth.
Yeah,
luckily
crams.
He does. In number 5 on my list, Attack of the Clones.
There you go.
If you want to ask me a question, you can ask me. But
ask
I can move on to Attack of the
anything.
Clones. You can ask me anything. Anyone can always ask me anything.
Absolutely. No, I think we're good. I think. Oh, matter of fact, I guess I will. I guess the question that I would ask, could you take us back to young Massa Michael, having the idea of what you remembered lightsaber fights being, and then the reality of what you got in episode 1. Can you take us back to that? This ain't the original trilogy's fight scenes.
Oh, there's a reason why that tape got rewound, or Be Kind and Rewised, man. Like, it was for that fight scene. And like, that's why like when you were talking about the Mandela effect about like the red barriers, like maybe because I watched it so many times, I feel like it happened more than it did. But like, yeah,
I swear it happened more than what's on DVDs now, bro.
I mean, dude, it's something else. But yeah, like I was a big Power Rangers guy, as I know you were too. But like, my shift in focus, and like I went from being like I want all Power Rangers toys to be like, nah, I need all Star Wars toys. That was a big shift for me. So
I love that.
Influenced a lot.
Yeah, I just remember, because it's like, even how they did it, because you got some lightsaber action obviously like spread out through the movie, but you got something very adjacent to the original trilogy, because it was like more fighting droids and deflecting, blaster bolts and things like that. But then when that final fight, even the first Qui-Gon Darth Maul fight, which wasn't really much, was very much the boxy stage fighting, And then when you got that fight, and then the introduction of the double saber, boy, what a time! What a time!
I didn't know what an erection was, but I had it.
He said something's happening.
Why's my dick getting bigger?
Victory!
Shot a blank that day.
Word, respect.
All right. So, Attack of the Clones, number 5. Man, this has got to be the most underrated Star Wars movie of all time. I got to tell you, I think this might be my most watched Star Wars movie. It has passed Revenge of the Sith, and I think it's because I treat Revenge of the Sith almost like an event movie, having like I finish the Clone Wars and then I'll watch Revenge of the Sith, right? But like
a little treat for yourself,
a little treat for myself. But I feel like Attack of the Clones is like there's something about it, that era of Star Wars, the prequel, like that movie established so much that like, and then gets brought to life in the Clone Wars. There's something about Annie. I mean, it's where my like, love for Natalie Portman just really blossomed. People might not like those romantic scenes, but I happen to love them.
If we do like a side hustle off of this podcast, it has to be called "There's Something About Annie." Has to be, bro.
Yeah, no, that's good.
We can
Matt's always branding.
We can bleep that out if we want to.
Man, if they take it from us, then they're gonna have to fall under our feed.
Fair use laws, baby. True. Yes, attack on clothes. Yes, it does.
Attack the Clones, yeah.
It's the nexus being of the Star Wars universe.
Oh man, there's so many things that happen in this movie, and it's like it's just got a really. It is truly a sum of its parts, because like the movie pops off so hard in its third act, but there are things to love along the way. Like as you get there, like Obi-Wan's like like detective noir, like investigation of the Kaminoans. Just even the whole like car chase at the beginning, like going back to like those things that George loves, like that's super fun.
We'd really like to know.
Yeah. The homage to the original trilogy, cutting off like the arm in the bar, like that's perfect. Like all those things are so good. So
Obi-Wan
so
drinking
well
on
done.
the job, like, sir.
Yeah. And it's like, it's such a great introduction to like Hayden Christensen as Anakin. Something that one of my favorite portrayals in Star Wars, period.
Absolutely.
And it's just so, to me, that movie is just a lot of fun. And like, yeah, there's the romantic stuff in there, but like people forget how quickly it shifts to him going to Tatooine to find out what's happened to his mom. And that is some really powerful shit that happens on Tatooine. Also accompanied by some amazing shots. Maybe one of the most underrated shots is that binary sunset when Anakin's on his speeder and you see his silhouette.
And they're doing the song, the theme. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. While the Duel of Fates is playing, literally because the Duel of Fates happens to be about Anakin, whether people know it or not. Dave has that whole diatribe about it. Which
is another thing that's just makes you appreciate that fight a lot. Like the naming of the scores for both the Battle of Heroes and Duel of Fates adds so much more to those fights. Like if they didn't have like those amazing like layered names, it's just like they'd still be great, but it's like they make them like iconic with those names. But yes, that is a super underrated binary sunset scene for sure.
And then just the whole Geonosian arena is just, it's so fun. Like, to me, that is like pure Star Wars action. And then when the clones like finally show up, to me, that is an inflection point of so much other media that I love. And I'm not just talking to Clone Wars. I'm talking like Star Wars Republic Commando. Like my video game obsession, I think, was like, as a young kid, was peaking at that moment when we were getting Star Wars games like left and right from LucasArts. And we just got some incredible stuff like surrounding like that. First battle is like a level in so many games that we played, right? So there's just like a feeling of like, that to me was Star Wars at its peak for quite some time. And I think I get that feeling when I watch the movie a lot. Also, come on, is there anything cooler than Hayden Christensen wielding like a green and a blue lightsaber? Like, I was like, this hasn't happened before. Like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? Like, there's some weird like visual things where I'm like, this is cool as shit. Like, I want that action figure. Like,
hell yeah, hell yeah. I'm almost positive they made like a double Anakin lightsaber action figure that like hands spun around. Like, if you like,
probably it was the Grievous prototype.
Shit. Yeah,
for sure.
Some shit like that.
That's so on point, dude. I bet that exists.
Dual wielding capabilities.
Dual wielding Anakin.
Double the saber, twice the fun.
If you squeeze him too hard, his one arm pops off.
Canon realistic arm loss.
But also, this is another reason that Attack of the Clones is just incredibly underrated. The sound design for that movie, seismic charges. I put it in the intro of this podcast on purpose because that shit is one of my favorite sounds in all of Star Wars.
So good.
I love it. It's just like, it's literally like I could just listen to it all the time. I want it to come back as often as possible. We got that in the Book of Boba Fett for a second. I think we got it in an episode of The Mandalorian as well. Like, just give me more seismic charges. I just want all the seismic charges. Give them to me.
All the charges.
But yeah, like, I can't say just more glowing things like the Reek, the Acklay, the Nexu, man, like all the stuff in there. There's just a lot of great things, and Jedi Gojo. Like, I could just quote it for days. Not that people don't already quote it for days, but
so that's definitely a quotable, a memeable movie. Like, it gets a lot of callbacks and references. I do have a question for you. Unless you have more. So
no, I'm ready.
Fun. You know what's hilarious about episode 2? Like, one of his biggest marketing points is one of the points that I feel like not a lot of people talk about. It's like the first time we get to see Yoda fight. Like,
that is true. It's like so well known and absorbed, and we see it like kind of happen more since then. But that was also a super hype moment that I didn't talk about enough.
So my question, episode 2 brings us some very quotable Yoda-isms. Which one was your favorite from episode 2?
So 2, it would have to be truly wonderful the mind of a child is.
Lost his planet, Master Obi-Wan has. Got it. Yeah, that was a great. My favorite is around the survivors.
Perimeter create. That's fantastic.
It's the most nonsensical Yoda sentence of all time, bro.
Yeah. Fantastic. You're right. There are a lot of really good Yoda lines in that. Movie.
Yoda has a lot of little bars in episode 2 for sure.
I like that. Like it literally, I didn't even have to think about it. That was the first line that popped into my head.
I was just like, I know he got some Yoda-isms from this one. I know he does.
Yeah.
We get the homie Dex, like episode 2.
Oh man,
the gift that keeps giving.
Which Kaminoans?
The size of your pocketbook.
Oh, Dex.
Stop. Dex. I was like, is Obi-Wan flirting? Like, what's going on, bro?
Yeah, right? He's flirting with everybody,
Dex.
man. He's flirting with everybody.
Hello, Dex.
Oh man! I love that fucking movie. It's
Obi-Wan's curiosity when they're talking about, like how the communities work for, like what's their loyalty to, and he's like, "What, Dex? The size of your pocketbook." Oh man, that was number 5. That was 5.
That was number 5. Let's
go. All
so
right, let's roll on. 4.
Number 4, another, in my opinion, fantastic movie that has an incredible third act. It's just not as strong as the top 3, but there's a lot to love, and it's probably the most fought over Star Wars movie. Because if you love it, you love it, and if you hate it, you fucking hate it. But it's The Last Jedi. I think
where you were going.
The Last Jedi is the best sequel trilogy movie by far. I remember leaving that theater and being like, wow, my expectations were subverted. I get the gripes of the B plot. The B plot is really, it leaves a fuck ton to be desired. It doesn't do enough for the characters that it has involved. It feels very not even adjacent to the story. It feels like it's in another galaxy.
far away.
But the A plot of that film is some of my favorite Star Wars stuff, and where it culminates in the third act, to me, is one of the best set pieces in Star Wars, period. However, you have to sit through a lot of fluff to get there when we're talking about the Finn, Rose, Poe storyline. There's also a lot of things that happen to the Resistance in that movie where I'm just like, it makes it almost hard to believe that they can go on to continue to fight a war after what happens.
All of 10 of them left over.
Yeah. And they can all fit on the Falcon. That's scary in and of itself, right? Like, but I just, man, like, even though people aren't happy about Luke throwing the saber over his shoulder, it just, to me, what that movie says is that you're never done growing. And I don't ever want to stop growing. For the people who are like, this isn't Luke, it's like, nah, man, like, the journey of a Jedi is to fight against fear, not just once and conquer it. It's to constantly fight against fear and be what a Jedi is. You know, confronting fear is the duty of a Jedi, and it's not something that you do it one day and then it doesn't happen again. As someone with anxiety, I really resonate with the fact that, like, I might be worrying constantly, and fear is something I'm going to have to combat. And I'm not the best at doing it. Maybe I would be a shit Jedi, but, like, for the Jedi to be the thing I latch onto the most, I think The Last Jedi had the most to teach me as a person. And that's why I resonate so much with it, because I feel very much attached to Rey in this movie in terms of wanting more out of my elders. And then I think there's something for me that, like, really stands out in where Luke goes from the beginning of this movie to the end of the movie, wanting to abandon the Jedi, and then ultimately doing, in my opinion, one of the most Jedi things ever, which is having a fight without having a fight. He quite literally battles somebody without even like harming a hair on them. And it's, to me, one of the most Jedi things you could do. It is a selfless act. It is something that doesn't hurt anybody, and it saves countless. Right?
It hurt like Ben's pride.
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but like other than it didn't physically harm anybody. So like, he's being peaceful, he's delivering justice, and he's giving the resistance another chance to fight another day. And that to me is something. It's not just one of those things in Star Wars that I find like awesome. To me, it's a beautiful thing. Like genuinely, I'm like, there's something about this story that like really, really struck me when I watched it. And when I go back and watch it, I get I'm not crazy about the whole, we have them tied to the end of a string and it's like, they're just out of reach. And it's like, if this is the rest of the resistance, why don't you just send out all your TIE fighters and blow that thing up? Like from like a plot standpoint, it's like, you don't care. You're the First Order. Like you don't care how many people you lose to finish this fight. Just send out as many fighters as you want. So it didn't work for me from that standpoint. But the stuff with Rey's connection to Kylo as well, and you can almost feel his turn back to the light side, right? Like I genuinely was someone in that theater when I was first watching, like, is he going to turn and be a good guy in the next movie, right? And it's like, of course, like he falls back into, the dark side because we need a bigger villain, but then there are so many questions there of like, well, is he gonna like really lean into this and become an even worse villain than Snoke was? And I think we talk about this a lot. I like when Star Wars subverts my expectations. There's no bigger subverting of my expectation than killing Snoke in the second movie.
Yeah, that shit was nuts.
Yeah, so like there are so many things that I love about it, and it's like it's not a lightsaber fight, but I love the Praetorian Guard fight. Like it was really cool to see Rey and Kylo
great fight.
Team up and go off against these guys. They're formidable foes, but
their buzz weapons made cool noises too. I enjoyed those noises.
Also, like the ignition that Kylo does into the one guy's like helmet, like such a cool move. Rey practicing like the lightsaber drop and like swinging it with her backhand, like that to me is another really cool one.
Yes,
but
it's one of the great fights for sure. Just gets buried
for sure.
in a lot of people's dislike for the movie and its totality.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about it, but like one of the best. I talked about the message of Luke doing what he did, being beautiful, but I don't know if there's a shot more cinematically captivating than when Holdo puts the thing into hyperdrive and all the sound cuts out and you just see all the ships split from her like battery ramming it through hyperspace.
That shit was crazy.
Not to mention all that shit culminates as they're like pulling the lightsaber apart. Like that's the thing where it's like, I beg you, if you have not watched The Last Jedi in a while, keep track of all of the things that are leading up to that moment, because the storylines truly intersect there in a way that they just don't in other Star Wars movies, and I just love it. It's such a fun thing to experience when I rewatch that movie.
I love that. You love that. Hearing you talk about it just made me realize that a gripe that I had was closed up. A wound that I had open has healed. I always was one of the people that hated the fact. I won't hate is strong. I was always one of the people that couldn't make sense of the fact that Han and Leia would name their son Ben. Because it's like Han didn't even fucking know Obi-Wan. Like,
that is one of those things where like Disney did them a favor.
Yeah,
by making the Obi-Wan show.
Yes, but that was like a unresolved trauma thing that I had from that movie that I didn't even realize was healed, like through that show. Like, so one less thing for me to not be upset about in the sequel trilogy. But
yeah, I think over time, I think people are going to look back at The Last Jedi and be like, man, this movie was pretty fire, actually. Like there's a lot to love in it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't be upset about the B plot. They don't even care about Finn and Poe in that movie. It feels like at times.
Oh
my God. I didn't even talk about I also think that the crate battle aesthetically is one of my favorite planets, like in Star Wars. Yeah. Like in the top 3, and it's not number 3. So
that definitely a super fire scenery, place for scenery.
Yeah, it was a great time.
So I do have a question. I guess that question was technically wasn't my question, but it got asked. But so since we've now gotten through the sequel trilogy, my question to you would be, because we know that the duties got split between JJ and Ryan, if you could pick just one of them to have done all 3, which one would you have rathered? Whose vision would you have rathered followed for all 3 movies?
I think I'd rather Ryan, but at the same time, I'm not sure that fan reception would have been as strong, because I think JJ did a really good job of smacking people over the head with nostalgia in The Force Awakens.
He Star Wars the fuck out of the movies.
Yeah. And and don't get me wrong, I think they both had really good visions. And even though I don't like The Rise of Skywalker that much and The Force Awakens, like it's funny because both those movies are obviously very low on my list. I don't think that JJ would have done all the same things had he been in charge of all of them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I also really like Ryan's vision, and
I like the tone of Last Jedi.
Yeah, the tone, the messages in the films feel like they're bigger than Star Wars, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it felt like a movie in the Star Wars universe as opposed to a Star Wars movie, if that makes sense. Where the JJ ones were like Star Wars movies. In Last Jedi, it's obviously like a Star Wars movie.
Right.
Like you said, it felt like Ryan was franchise movies can just exist off being just franchise movies. Like they don't need anything behind it. But I kind of like what you just said. Like Ryan, I feel like anybody could be a Jedi, or anyone could be the Force. Like your beginnings, your origin doesn't mean shit to how your story ends. Like it does seem like he was trying to actually insert imagery and life lessons inside of a Star Wars movie. Whereas he could have just made a Star Wars movie and everybody was like Star Wars.
Aren't your favorite movies the ones you walk away from and you're just like, man, I was moved by that? Yeah. Like there's an emotional journey, and that's what I feel when I watch The Last Jedi. And I can't say I feel the same way when I watch The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. Not that they're bad movies or anything. It's just not the same. Or the pop off isn't as strong for me personally.
Totally random, has nothing to do with anything. But the best don't need to turn your brain on, but boy is this movie's fucking amazing. Do you remember Battle Los Angeles? Have you ever seen that movie?
I didn't see that movie, no.
Dog, it rotates streaming platforms, so I'll figure out where it's at and I'll send it to you. When I tell you, I had probably one of the greatest experiences of my lifetime in a movie theater seeing that movie. It's just nonstop action the whole movie. It's like friends don't become enemies don't become friends. We're not all richer for the experience at the end, but it's just a really good movie that just nonstop action.
Yeah,
but it's classic. Tis a classic. So are we in your final 3? We're in your big 3
We're in my
now?
final 3. Yeah, the big 3.
Oh baby, the big 3.
Matt, this was I'm not gonna lie to you. Number 1 was very easy. It was number 2 and 3 that were giving me such a hard time. It's so
tough.
hard.
It's tough.
It's so hard.
It's tough.
In your ranking, I said this was a perfect movie. And it is. It is a perfect movie. It's just not my favorite. The Empire Strikes Back. I can't say anything bad about it.
No bad things.
It might objectively be the best Star Wars movie. It has every single Hollywood franchise that has come after this wishes that it has an Empire Strikes Back within its catalog. Very few do it. I have gone as far as to say that the MCU's or our generation's Empire Strikes Back was and the MCU's Infinity War, because it leaves you gutted if you don't know what's going to happen next. And obviously as a franchise, we know that obviously the good guys are going to win in the end, or at least we think so, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, the twists, the turns, the heartbreak, the I love you, I know, iconic. I just it's all so good, and it's framed around just the best Star Wars battles, like the Battle of Hoth. You got also Cloud City. We get the introduction of Lando Calrissian, who's an excellent addition to an already stellar cast. Billy D, the cool side of the pillow. Hello, Peter.
Han.
But like, you know what I also love about Billy D is that
good to see you, buddy.
He literally, Billy D. Williams literally like almost never says no to reprise Lando, and it's one of my favorite things ever. Like in the Robot Chicken specials, he's Lando. Like it's perfect. But yeah, like the Empire Strikes Back just has such an amazing flow to it, where you get to see Luke almost in his prime, right? Like he's becoming a Jedi, or he's been traveling as a Jedi, and it's like, no, it's time to step your game up, buddy. You're going to Yoda, right? And then you just get this like almost a lore dump, right? But in the best way possible, because it's through Luke's training that we are experiencing and learning so much about the Jedi. And that is such a fun thing in such a weird environment from such a weird Muppet. You know what I mean? Like you just don't. And it's shout out
to Frank Oz. He doesn't.
Yeah, hell yeah. Frank Oz is the go to that movie, dude. Like it's just so awesome. And we get to spend some time with Han and Leia in a capacity where it's like, yeah, like they didn't have a lot of time like interacting in the first movie, but that to me is where like The Last Jedi fails as a second part of the movie, right? Like if we're gonna pair up Finn, or like maybe that would have been a good time to pair up Poe and Finn for like an adventure, but instead they separate them, right? Like we don't get them as like they're, don't get me wrong, they're still part of that B plot, but they're not doing it together. And I think that hurts that movie. Whereas like we get to see all these characters who didn't really interact as much before interacting with each other, with the fact that, R2 goes with Luke to Dagobah and he's furthering his training, but the rest of the cast, they still have an adventure to go on, and they're still escaping the Empire. And then we get also one of those things where it's like, you and and Matt, this is a criticism of us that I think you're going to be like, oh shit, you're kind of right.
Okay.
Are the bounty hunters not the Knights of Ren?
Like Boba Fett and all them?
Yeah, think about it. They're only not because only not because we have so many stories that have come after it, like in our childhood.
We talked about this during one of our Book of Boba Fett breakdowns. We was just like, Boba Fett legit has like one line of dialogue through the original Star Wars movies, but somehow became like this cult character that everybody, like the lore and this like the legend of Boba Fett just like grew. But then you go back, he's like he's in the movie for all of 1 minute of screen time, like if that.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I love Boba Fett, and I love
him more now, and I love him even more since Book of Boba Fett and Mando
for sure. But But yeah, it's just funny because it's like, yeah, man, they just threw throwing random crazy creatures out at us, and we just kind of like accepted it. And now it's something that where we would have criticized the movie, we would have been like, why did they just throw all those guys up there? They didn't even do anything. Like, you know what I mean?
Just there for the show. Yo.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like everything in that movie works for me. I don't have to even explain it to people. And I love the duel on Bespin. It's super emotional, and then I also think that there's like an aesthetic to the like carbon freezing chamber that is to me a stamp of Star Wars in a way that like doesn't get enough credit. There's something about that like orange glow.
Yeah, Han and Carbonite, I would probably say I would put in like my top 5 of like iconic Star Wars images. Like that's got
that movie is just like, that movie's dramatic in the best ways. Like it's overly dramatic in all the best ways. And then I do want to leave.
What's the runtime of that movie? Because like hearing you talk about it, I'm like, yo, so much does happen in that movie. Yeah,
it's not the longest for sure.
So many amazing Star Wars moments happen in that movie that like when hearing you say like the Battle of Hoth and Cloud City are in the same movie, it's like, fuck, they are in the same movie. And it's like, there's just, the pacing of that movie is like fantastic.
Oh, it's incredible. I think that's another testament to it. Like Irvin Kershner, obviously, like people like talk about, George writing the script, but Irvin Kershner directing The Empire Strikes Back, he did a hell of a job.
2 hours and 4 minutes.
Yeah, which isn't even that long.
Yeah,
when you think about it, like it's a pretty short runtime compared to, especially I think Attack of the Clones is like 240. Like it's ridiculous. While you're looking that up, I want to talk about
222, but yes, considerably.
Yeah. I do really want to talk about Mark Hamill's acting. I think that the acting in the original trilogy is okay. I think people
is the longest one. Fun fact, 232.
Well, there you go. People give the prequels like a lot of shit for the acting, but I would say that like the original trilogy is not that much better in terms of acting. But the one thing that separates the original trilogy from the prequel trilogy is Mark Hamill's like realization and acting when he finds out that Darth Vader is his father.
He's so good. Good.
It's like I said, super dramatic in all the best ways. One of my favorite Star Wars moments for sure. Mark Hamill acted his ass off in that scene. And it's just awesome. But yeah, those are all my thoughts. Any questions for me on Empire? But
I don't think I have zero questions from Empire. Like you said, it's a perfect movie. No critiques, no criticisms. It was high. It was number 2 on my list, I believe. I think I put it at second on mine. No questions. I won't even try. It's do or do not. There is no try.
All right. Well, I saved both the R movies for last. So
here we go.
This one was a hard one for me to put at number 2 because Empire is such a strong like movie. But there is something about Return of the Jedi that I think I like it more than Empire. Like, that
was my number 1 for many years. Like my favorite Star Wars movie. When I rewatch Return of the Jedi, or like when I'm thinking about putting on an original trilogy movie, this is one that sticks out to me because I think it's just the most fun of all 3. It has all the Jedi stuff that I love. It has the vibe of like Empire, but the set pieces are bigger. The action sequences are more fun because Jedi, like obviously Luke's like flailing around his green lightsaber. Green lightsabers happen to be my favorite. I don't know if that's like something that I know that the only reason he has a green lightsaber is because the blue lightsaber wouldn't show up in the special effects. But damn, if it didn't work for some reason, like I just love how it came to be. And I love Luke and Vader's final battle. Yeah, him showing up as the man in black with the green lightsabers, that's also a very iconic moment. Because
it is.
Like, that's not little Lukey anymore.
No, it's like it's turned into an iconic look,
the black glove.
So I just love the whole Jabba's palace, Jabba's sail barge. Like that's super fun for me. Like I get so giddy when like Luke does the thing where he jumps off the plank. And then jumps back up. Yeah. Oh, the nodding. That's also like Rachel hates that joke from the Family Guy. But like gets me every time. I'm just like so fucking funny.
Cracks me up. Yeah, that whole the jump off the diving board back up, front flip, catch the I love that part.
And it's dude, Matt. It's that scene, and when he does that, when it cuts into the like that is Star Wars, man. That is the most like Star Wars moment for me. Like I think that like there's something about it that I just really can't get enough of. And so when I think back and like I was making this list, I was just like, man, which movies make me the most excited? Which do I have the most fun with? And which are like mean the most to me as just like a Star Wars fan. And that's where Return edged out Empire, because while Empire is a perfect movie, the feeling I get when I watch Return of the Jedi is just there's very little that comes to it. And
the ending celebration with the Ewoks reminds me of like summertime. Like,
I love that. I love that.
Like, I just want to sit outside and just inhale some humid ass hot summer air.
Yeah, right. Isn't it funny how like some of these movies like make us like you just think back to like a moment in time? You know what I mean? Like I love that description. Like I have so many things like that in my life. And, you know, obviously Star Wars podcast, but I'm gonna dive into some of our other loves real quick. So there's something about
the range.
You know how like in the spring when it's like starting to get warm out, like and like there's just that like feeling in the air. I associate it with two things, and it's really weird, but for some reason it's like cherry Pop-Tarts and Gundam. Because after school, I had to walk home from school, and after school I would get home and I'd be like, what do I want to eat? I'm going to eat some cherry Pop-Tarts. And then I found out about anime, and I was watching Gundam Seed. And so when there's like a specific type of like, it's brisk spring air, but like that's the first thing I'm like, man, I could go for some cherry Pop-Tarts, and I want to watch some fucking Gundam.
Let's fucking go. I'm here for all of that. The power of film, man. That's why I love it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why I love it. But yeah, I could definitely agree with everything that you're saying. Return was fun as shit. Like it's just a fun movie. Just fucking Ewoks. Like I told you, I had an obsession with Wicked. That's like my dude. That's my man's. Seen all the Ewok movies and all that shit. But yeah, Return it hits. That's another one. It hits all the beats. Like it's very Star Wars, but it is fun. Like it was definitely like a lot of fun. Just I feel like we all, you know, recreated that Luke scene on Jabba's barge, like as kids, like on couches and shit. Like, oh, it. Like, feel like we all have done that. Had your homie throw you the lightsaber, you catch it in the air.
Right.
Feel like we all did it, but yeah.
Who doesn't want to be doing that? Like that's one of those things where it's like because Star Wars rhymes so much, like if they put a moment like that into whatever the Jedi 3 game is after Survivor, like I'm gonna be so pumped. It's gonna make me want to replay just for that moment, like all the time.
That'd be fire. That would definitely, because I feel like they've had Hutts show up or be referenced in them games, right? I know that they were in Bounty Hunters, or not Bounty Hunters, Outlaws. I don't remember if they were in,
I don't know if they've showed up at different part of the timeline. Jabba's still around during that part of the timeline.
We know that, you know, they're starting to explore more Hutts. There was like them twin Hutts from Book of Boba Fett.
Yes, and the Hutt Council is still around at that point, I believe.
So I was gonna say I could see that. That'd be a cool level to a different part of Tatooine to explore when you like gotta like infiltrate his sail bars. That'd be dope. I'd fuck with that.
That'd be super fun.
That'd be a good one. You know, with the path, maybe they got to go to Tatooine to get some people out the path. You know,
we just keep pitching that show.
Maybe we write it, bro. Like, it's such an easy show to make. Like,
super easy.
All the cameos.
Written money. That's right. You're right. It is a cameo fest. That's what that's what the show would be. Yeah. You could literally do like a guest of the episode type situation. Like every episode is like a different famous Star Wars face. Like, or love it.
A new actor to like play a character that we've been waiting. Hondo.
Speaking of Hondo, he's somehow absent from my number one movie.
Doesn't show
clearly
up.
There's a reason why, because he wasn't invented yet, but Revenge of the Sith. And I
know his best friend. You know his best friend's a Jedi.
I do know his best friend's a Jedi. Man, from start to finish, this movie is incredible. It's not the perfect movie like Empire is, but it, from start to finish, is the most high I can get as like a Star Wars fan, in terms of this is the Jedi at their peak of excitement and all of that stuff and their heroism, and this is the low of everything that I've been cheering these characters on for while I'm watching these movies, and I'm watching all of their worlds get torn apart because of some clever planning.
It's the fucked up part about it. You know it's coming.
Yeah, that is. It's like watching a car crash, right? You can't you just keep rubbernecking, man. I just keep looking back at it
every single time I watch episode 3. I still go into it with the same, like, maybe he'll make a different choice this time.
Yeah, every time. I think we talked about this last week, but like, yeah, like I'm just like, oh man, like, come on, Anakin, don't do the dumb thing. Like, what about all the clones that your friends?
Wait. Just friends. Like, just stay in the temple like he asked.
Fives, dude. Like, oh man, he
ask
knew
more
the
questions.
chips. Ask more questions. Yeah, Palpatine's not your friend. Chancellor Palpatine is evil.
Right. Well, now you are lost.
Oh man, I just start to finish, front to back, like it just it's super fun the whole way through. When I talk about the movie not being a perfect movie like Empire, it's purely because, like, listen, as much as I love the monologues and the dialogue at the end, it's just not like they're memed because some of it is bad.
I love it so much. Yo.
If you're not with me, you're my enemy. Well, no shit, Anakin. I hear
I
that.
love it so much.
Oh, I do too.
I get something new out of it every time I watch it.
Yeah, it's incredible. But dude, and this is one of those movies where it's like, don't get me wrong, the supplemental material around Star Wars that we have been able to get since this movie came out it just makes it better every time. Like, I can't watch Revenge of the Sith the same way after watching the Clone Wars. And you can say that about a lot of the movies, like with the shows that come out. Like, I think Rebels really affects Rogue One and New Hope and stuff like that. But it's like, there are things about it where I'm just watching, when I'm watching Revenge of the Sith, I'm like, oh man, if only Ahsoka like was here, you know. And it's like such a weird thing to like, I know, but like I watched that movie and I have such love for it before. And it's crazy because you don't expect to fall in love with the same movie again for a million different reasons. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that, like, when you watch it, you're like, this is great for like this, and this. And then it ages like a fine wine because it just happens to be on the shelf with a bunch of other great wines. Like, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's special.
Through osmosis.
It's kind of like, I'm going to be really cheesy here for a second. And, you know, I know eventually she's going to listen to this, but it is like literally the only movie in my life that is like my relationship with Rey, where I find new reasons to love her more every day. Well, I find new reasons to love Revenge of the Sith every time I watch it. And every time I watch Clone Wars, it's like it just keeps compounding on each other. And I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, I got the best of it and I'm going to keep getting the best of it. And I'm very grateful that I have these things in my life. Like, isn't it crazy that I existed at the same time that Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars and Rey, the Ruiner, happened to be on this planet, and she just so happens to love me too? It's crazy.
The universe. It's the universe, brother. All things happen for a reason.
Oh, it's the Force works in mysterious ways.
The Force does work in mysterious ways.
But no, it's like, and obviously I was serious what I said, but seriously, like, the Battle of Heroes, one of my favorite set pieces, the trauma, the tragedy that I feel for Anakin and of Anakin and Obi-Wan, the one. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
It just gets worse every time, and
every time it
every
breaks
time
my heart more.
Yeah, and it's funny, Matt. I said earlier, like in this episode, that like Revenge of the Sith has become event watching for me. It used to be my most watched movie. Now I only like, it's like I compared it to wine, but now I'm just also saying like it's almost like a bottle of whiskey where it's like it's for special occasions.
1000%.
You know what I mean?
1000%.
And
Revenge of the Sith is a Christmas time film for me.
For you?
Yeah,
is it?
I watch it like around Christmas time. That's when
I cannot wait for the anniversary of this movie to be able to experience this movie in the theater again.
Oh,
because
yeah, it's gonna be nice.
It's coming. I'm stupid hyped.
Might have to 40x that one.
Oh yeah, if they do that, I will be there with you in that seat, my friend.
Let's go.
That's the type of thing, Matt, where it's like, if they put that shit in 40x, like, we are getting so high. We're watching that movie.
Hell yeah.
and then we are going to, when we leave that theater, I'm going to be like, what's your favorite food? Let's go get it. And then I'm going to go get my favorite food, and we're going to sit down, and we're just going to be like, it's the perfect day.
Look, sign me up, bro. Book it, Dano. Like, we in there. Like, oh, Dex.
Oh, Dex.
Oh, Dex. Yeah.
But I seriously, I cannot wait to like experience that with you, because of course we're gonna fucking go see it together. There's not a chance that we're not.
No choice.
But yeah, like I can't wait. And of course, I don't think we've seen. Have we gone to the movie theaters recently without Ray or our buddy Kevin? It was just Kev. Oh God, Kev. He's gonna have to be there too.
I mean, it's only right. Traditions.
Traditions.
That's where the flesh lightsaber was born.
That is, yeah. Oh yeah, I can't forget.
And then the Neshaminy Strangler.
I can't forget our old producer Scooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, I can't wait for that movie, and just like, yeah, dude, I love this franchise. It's so fun. It's my favorite.
It's so good. Yeah.
Any questions for Revenge of the Sith? I feel like I can't gush over Revenge of the Sith more, because I will just never stop talking about it.
No, I feel you. And the more I listen to you talk, the more it's going to make me say. Yeah. And I would just get caught love bombing all over Revenge of the Sith.
I have a closing note, if you will, on it. So I have, people know me, like, I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. If anything, I'd say I'm like anti-religious, which is kind of ironic because Jedi's a religion. But there are words of wisdom from Yoda in this movie that I actually always give to those who have lost someone. And I would encourage you to share it with your loved ones, because I really, truly think that it is one of the greatest things that I've taken from this franchise. And it's when Yoda's talking to Anakin about losing Padme, right? And he doesn't know that it's Padme, but he says, when he's talking about you must train yourself to let go of everything you fear to lose. But he says, rejoice for those who become a part of the living force. Mourn them, do not. Miss them, do not. Which I have always interpreted as, even though they're gone through the cosmic force, they are still with you. And I think that's a really powerful thing, and something that I've taken from that movie and kind of like interjected into real life scenarios to comfort others. So it speaks to me on an even higher level and in a different way than normal. That's how I'll close out my thoughts on Revenge of the Sith, with another Yodaism.
Shit, look, it's all thanks to Yoda. Praise be. Praise be to the green man at the top of the mountain. We listen to you, sir. We bow down. We pay all respects.
Oh, Dex.
What size pocketbook do you have?
Now I want to see Yoda and Dex go on an adventure.
That would be amazing.
What a buddy cop film. Can you imagine it's like Dex early in his career, where he's like still like before he owns the diner and stuff. Maybe he like works for like the Coruscant police force or something. And,
he was a liaison. Yoda's the Jedi liaison working on the case.
And it's like Dex and the short man.
What size your pocketbook? That's how it is. But yeah, that's damn, where was we at? Oh shit, no.
I was trying to find a way to segue into closing this fucking bad boy out.
Love bombing on Revenge of the Sith. We'll get stuck there. I loved your list. That was an amazing experience for me. I enjoyed that.
Oh, thank
thoroughly,
you, sir. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But did I surprise you anywhere, or were you like, nah, this is what I thought?
Nah, I'm pretty sure. I didn't realize New Hope was that low for you. I know you weren't the biggest fan of it. So.
Yeah. That's I mean, obviously you're at this point in the episode now, but that's what I'm going to put in the image to like bait people into listening.
Oh, like it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it. Ha! And you're here and you heard that. That means it worked, bitches.
I gotcha.
Gotcha, punk. Come back next week too.
Yes, for a surprise and probably much more fun episode than this one.
No, I had a ball. I had a ball with this one. Now we got to figure out. I hope my questions were good.
Oh yeah, man. No, you helped drive the conversation forward. I really appreciate you like adding that element to it. Before we also close this out, dude. I know, we talked last week, like we kicked off Black History Month, and that was very much your episode, and I'm glad we did. Really weird times that we're living in, that they're like, they're like trying to erase Black history, which is just so weird to me and so terrible that we've gotten to this point.
Black History Month.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. There are just so many things, so many people, you, Trav, on our sister podcast, Dragon Ball for Life, like go support Black content creators. Like you can obviously support Matt by listening to us here, but we have a sister podcast, Dragon Ball for Life. Please go check that out. We also have a team of amazing people that, are part of the Black community as well. So, please like check that out, see what's going on. But, Dragon Ball for Life is also a place where the culture has really, been about shining light on the rest of the culture. So we have tons of episodes all about different Black content creators on Dragon Ball for Life. I encourage you to, go through there, check out. You should be able to find a pretty decent amount by going through our social and being like, I'm going to support them and check them out. And on top of that, like we don't have an Eagles Super Bowl without a ton of amazing Black athletes. Victory! Like I'm just like, I refuse to, like they can take it off Google Calendar and do all they want, but like, we're not going to stop highlighting. It's a really, truly part of our mission statement on our sister podcast to, shine light on the culture within the culture, man. So, I'd be so remiss if we didn't just like talk about that for a second. And Matt, if you have any words, obviously, you shouldn't have to defend yourself in any way, shape, or form in terms of like, existing and not wanting erasure there. Like, I think you have clearly done enough of that. But if you have anything to say, the floor is always yours, my friend.
Oh, for sure, brother. And I don't even feel the need to say anything to, give you the stamp of approval on what you just said, bro. Like, I know where your heart's at, bro. Like, that's why you my brother. That's why you my dog. But yeah, I mean, we said it. We said it. We'll say it. Every month is Black History Month. Like we help build this country. Like, so
Hell
it's
yeah.
like fuck the day. fuck February. It's the shortest month. Like take it like we.
Yeah, that is. But, I don't know why I didn't put that together. That's pretty fucked up. We're making dude. You're right. It's inner excellence, Black excellence every day, every month.
Absolutely. And then it's like so we've said this on the DB4All podcast. We've said it here. Like. Nerd culture is Black culture. Anime culture is Black culture. Black nerds have been here. We are here. We gonna be here. So like you were saying, like it's about the shedding the light, uplifting, spreading positivity, creating a safe space, broadcasting said safe space out for everybody to see that we're here, and we fuck with the shit, and we know about the shit. So
we know about the shit.
Let's talk. Let's talk. And we want to talk to everybody. Like obviously, it's always voting for everybody that's Black, but even adjacent to that, for the nerds of any skin color that don't feel like they have a space, or because you're newer to the space, a lot of the older nerds aren't as welcoming, and you feel like ostracized. We fuck with you too. Come on, there's room for everybody.
Around the nerds, a perimeter create.
Yes, sir. That's the ending. I don't need to put nothing else on it. It could be Yoda, it could be yoga, it could be no duh, or it could be rain. Life can be a beach, but as long as there's no sand, you guessed it. On the 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, 5, 4, 3, 2 first episodes, Anakin J. Skywalker will be okay.
B-O-K. May the force be with you, Matt.
And with you. Later, nerds. You gotta say deuces.
Oh, deuces.
We out.